My older son had to have his tonsils out one time, and I was at that time in my life I was selling pharmaceuticals. So I brought him into the to meet the doctor the day before he was getting his tonsils out, and I brought Ryan in and my wife in, and we're in there. He's a good friend of ours, and just so my older son wouldn't be afraid of what was going to happen in surgery the next day. And, the doctor says, okay, well, who's this? I said, well, this is Ryan. Ryan was about 3 years old at the time. And he said, oh, hey, Ryan, how are you? And we said, and he didn't answer, and we just kind of laughed. We said, oh, he's not going to answer. He's our little mute child. He just doesn't talk. So he says, okay. So he went through what was going to happen with my older son, and he said, hey, would you mind if I talk to Ryan for a little while in my office? I said, no, go ahead. You just have at it. I figured he was going to go show him one of these little skeleton hands, right? Maybe give him the secret lollipop stash that doctors usually have. He's in there for maybe 5 minutes. He was an ENT. He was not anything. He was just a regular ENT. He came out and he said, I hate to have to tell you this, but I think your son is autistic. That was a very scary words to hear. Very scary words to hear. That time, this was about 1996. This was a long time ago. We didn't certainly know as much. We were still in autism awareness back then. We weren't in what to do. Very scary. We didn't know what to do. We said, well, what do we do? Is he going to be okay? Well, we have to go. I recommend you go ahead and bring him in for an evaluation. So it took, I think it was 2 months to get him evaluated, then another week to get the results. And they said basically, well, yeah, we're pretty sure he's autistic. And we're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? Is he going to be okay? Well, we don't know that, but a few things didn't check out. We think he probably should get another test. So we say, okay, schedule another test. Another 2 months pass. You're living with this every minute of every day. He comes in, and 2 months later, this is what they said to us. Oops. Sorry. We think we were wrong. Now we're not sure it's, the severe autism. We think it's somewhere PDD, NOS. We don't know what it is, but something's wrong. We're like, oh, well, what do we do? Is he going to be okay? We don't know, but we recommend that you get another test. So we go in. This one was a hearing test to see if there was something wrong with his hearing. Some internal ear thing. You guys know. I don't know what it was. It took a while to get it. They tested it. They came back to us and they said, oops, we were wrong. Your child doesn't have PDD. The problem with your child is that he's profoundly deaf. We're like, why does he turn when the air conditioner clicks on? Oh, he does that? Well, let's get another test. Another couple months go by. Get another test. They say, well, you're right. Your son can hear. We've proven that. The problem with your son is that he's profoundly retarded and ADD. We're like, I don't think so. He's pretty smart, even though he doesn't talk. This was a very stressful period for my wife and I. This was the same year that I'd already lost my mother. It was the same year that my father died suddenly in a car accident. It was the same year my sister was re-diagnosed with a brain tumor, which would eventually take her life. So it was a very stressful year. Same year as The Notebook was being published, my very first novel. Big issues going on all this year. So we're going through this, shunting from test to test. All we wanted to know is, what do we do? I don't care what are we going to do? And we're in a small town in the South, and nobody ever really had an answer to that. But anyway, I go on my book tour for that year. It was like 50 cities. So it was very stressful for my wife. She still doesn't know what's going on. At the end of this period, I knew my wife was literally at the end of her rope, so I gave her a gift that I thought she would very much like for Christmas. I gave her a trip to Hawaii without me. Right? Been very stressful. You might figure, why would I do that? I will tell you. Who's going to watch Ryan? Who? Nobody. There's nobody else. If I want my wife to relax, send her off with a girlfriend to go to Hawaii. Well, as I said, it was very stressful on the marriage. And while my wife was in Hawaii, we get into an argument on the phone. And I'm, arguing and she's arguing. And she finally says, look, let me tell you what my life has been like the last year. I wake up every morning and I wonder if Ryan's going to be okay. I wonder if Ryan will ever have a friend. I wonder if Ryan will ever go to school or drive a car or go to the prom or get married. I wonder if he's going to do anything. He's 4 years old. We've been running around for a year. All that's happening this year is he's fallen another 3 years behind his peers. That's all. I don't even know if he loves me. So this is what, I felt very petty about my little fusses at my wife. And I said, I'm very sorry. I didn't know that was what your year was like. I said, but I'll tell you what. I promise to cure our son. Big, bold words, right? Because while she was stressing about this, I was reading. I was fortunate. So the next day I bought this little plastic table and chair from Walmart, got this particular model because it had a seat belt. On it. Buckled him in. And he loved these little nerd candies. He didn't say a word, but he loved these little nerd candies. So I held out this little piece of candy and I said, apple. 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 Oh, probably after about 2 or 3 minutes of that, he was getting pretty bored. After maybe 5 or 6, he was beginning to fuss. Maybe after 8 or 9, he's really this. After 15 minutes, he had begun to scream and claw at his arms, trying to get out. And I said to him, apple? Apple? After 2 hours of that screaming, 2 hours of nonstop screaming, my kid could say, ah. After 4 hours, he said, ep. And after 6 hours, he said, apple. I've had a lot of good things happen in my life. I consider my life very blessed. But to this day, it's the happiest moment of my life. Because it was the first time I knew my kid could learn. He could talk. He could do it. And I knew it. And I remember, I took his little face in my hands and I said, son, you got dealt a crappy deck of cards. You got bad hand in life. Well, we're going to fix that, and I'll be with you every step of the way. So the next day I worked with him another 6 hours. My wife is still in Hawaii, and I call her that night, talk to her, put my older son on the phone, talks to him. I get back on the phone. I was, of course, playing her. I said, oh, by the way, Ryan has something to tell you. Remember, she's not heard him speak. And I put the phone up to his ear, and I mouth what I want him to say, what we worked on for 6 hours. And he says into the phone, I love you. Now, I did not have the Cleveland Clinic in my backyard. I did not have a doctor who knew bupkis about what to do. There's books out there saying cure your kid with autism with hug therapy, eat bananas, all this crap. I did what she did, but I didn't know how to do it. I wasn't trained. Why did I have to do that? Because insurance wouldn't have paid. Nobody would pay. So I had to strap my kid in that chair for 3 to 4 hours a day. 2.5 years. 2.5 years I had to work with him. How's Ryan now? A little socially behind. But you know what? He's in a high school, college prep, very rigorous school. I know this because I founded the school. It's not for autistic kids. It's for people who want to go to Harvard. It's tough. I think he got 4 A's, a B, and a C his last semester. Right now, today, he's in Peru, hiking around Machu Picchu without his parents. Last year, he went to Costa Rica and Mexico again with the school. Just traveling. That's my son. Good kid. You'd like him. All is good, right? Boy, what else can happen? A few years later, 2001, had twin daughters born. Twin daughters. First was Lexi. Second was Savannah. Lexi came out, little pencil, hemangioma, pencil eraser, this big, right here. And it began to grow. And grow. And grow. Now my life has been very blessed because someone in my little town said, you need to take her in now. And we didn't know where to go. They did. Told us to go see Dr. Denk in Norfolk, Virginia. Well, the problem was it had continued to grow. It was the size of a softball beneath her chin. And if you touched it, it ulcerated and gushed blood. I'm on my book tour. I'm talking to my wife. I say, yeah, we're talking, da-da-da. Oh, I gotta go. Lexi's chin is gushing blood. Click. That's what we live with. We got up there when my daughter was, I think, 8 weeks old. Brought her in for surgery. And after that surgery, and you see what it would have looked like. My wife was crying 2 hours later because they brought Lexi back in. Do you know why she was crying? This is what she said to me. Our daughter is smiling for the first time because it was so painful. So 6 weeks go by. Lexi's sounds funny. She sounds funny. So we bring her back in. Hemangioma came back. It was growing inward into her trachea and her esophagus. It was going to kill her. We got it fixed. And if you see Lexi today, teeny tiny scar right there, right in that curve where you never, ever, ever see it. She also had one on her back that we had removed. Now, despite these things, I consider myself very blessed because we could pay for it. We could pay for it. Didn't matter to me. I was going to do it. And I'd read a lot, and I researched, but that's my nature, and I'm not everybody else. And CPT codes and insurance coverage and education and centers of excellence. I would have loved those things. I was going to do it come hell or high water. But that's not most people. Most people lose themselves in the fear. And that's what we're here for. And that's why it's important. And that's what, anyway, that's my story.